What's happening, guys? Acrinator here, and welcome to another episode of World of Warcraft Dungeon Overview. Last episode we did the entirety of Dire Maul, and this episode we're going to do Scholomance, or Scholomance as it's correctly pronounced. I did look that up. Anyways, I'm going to be running through it with my level 100 Destruction Warlock right there, and with that being said, let's get straight into it. Located in the center of Daromir Lake is the island ruled by the Barov family, Caer Daro. After the Second War, the Barov family became enticed by the charismatic and noble Kel'Thuzad, giving the mage access to their keep and crypts. They had pledged allegiance to the Lich King in return for immortality and greater political influence, but the Barovs soon found themselves in much deeper than they had originally hoped. The Cult of the Damned members and the Scourge began flocking to this once peaceful lakefront isle, which began to unnerve some of the members of its ruling family. Before too much power could be stripped away from the undead forces, the Barovs were slain and then resurrected in service of the Lich King, giving Kel'Thuzad and his underlings free reign of the island. Even after Arthas's fall, Scholomance remains a stronghold for the Cult of the Damned and the practice of necromancy. Though many of the instructors have fallen to adventurers throughout the years, the headmaster, Dark Master Gandling, has survived, and it's high time that someone silences him once and for all. Scholomance is a level 38 to 48 dungeon, which was given a level 90 heroic mode during Mists of Pandaria, and this is the version that I'll be running through today. The entrance is one of the easier ones to reach out of the past few dungeons I've covered, as you don't really have to worry about any mobs bothering you once you pass the bridge to Caer Daro. Just head to the center of Daromir Lake in the southeastern portion of the Western Plaguelands, or the southwestern portion of the Eastern Plaguelands, depending on which way you're approaching from. Once you make your way to Caer Daro, head to the building at the very top of the hill. Head inside the main entrance, turn left, click to open up the door, and you've made it to the dungeon entrance. Congratulations. The first boss of Scholomance is Instructor Chillheart. As I said earlier, many of the instructors throughout Scolomance's history have changed, and Instructor Chillheart is one of the newer additions to the necromantic stronghold. This lich traveled all the way from the icy north to teach aspiring fleshmenders and helps to verse them in their introduction to the dark arts. Geez, this is beginning to sound like something out of Hogwarts. Oh wait. Anyways, Chillheart gives little leeway for failure, and unleashes the frigid wrath of Northrend and the entire might of her library on anyone not performing to her standards. During the first phase, Instructor Chillheart will cast Ice Wall, which will slowly encroach on the group throughout the fight. Your main goal for the first half of the fight is to kill Chillheart before the Ice Wall closes in on you. Once Chillheart's body is taken down, she retreats into her phylactery and summons dozens of books to deal damage to the players in a number of different ways. The new target to kill for this second phase will be Chillheart's phylactery, which will not fight back directly. The books themselves cannot be targeted, therefore their ability should be avoided when possible. One of the book types will fly about the room spewing fire to everything directly below it. Another type of book summons a large orb that explodes with an arcane energy ball when reaching the floor. The third type of book casts shadow bolts on random players and cannot be avoided, so they're of little consequence. The second boss of Scholomance is Jandis Barov. Jandis Barov is the ill-fated daughter of the former Lord of Scholomance, Lord Alexei Barov, and a former Archmage of the Kirin Tor. Jandis was famous for her mastery of illusionary magics, and was known as a fierce opponent for all who stood in her way. That being said, she stood no chance against Kel'Thuzad, a former member of the Council of Six, and a trusted acquaintance to her family. In a way, the cult did end up granting Jandis eternal life. Though she was initially slaughtered in order to pave the way for the Scourge's dominance over the current-day Plaguelands, Jandis was soon resurrected as a Shade as a result of her extreme magical prowess. She now faithfully serves Gandling, and even teaches wannabe necromancers the art of illusionary magics. The tank for your group should be sure to face Barov away from the rest of the party, as she will cast an ability called Wondrous Rapidity. dealing damage to all those in front of her while she channels the spell. It should also be noted that the boss cannot turn while casting, so the tank should also move out of the line of fire once she begins casting. Just be sure to return to your original position once the spell is finished. Barov will cast Gravity Flux at a random player, creating a purplish-black circle on the ground, which damages and knocks back any player caught within it. At 2/3 and 1/3 remaining health, Barov will disappear and then reappear with dozens of mirror images alongside her, all spinning and casting a weak arcane missile-like spell on nearby players. Just AoE down as many images as possible, as the fakes die much more quickly than the boss will. The third boss of Scholomance is Rattle Gor. Rattle Gor is a tenaciously lethal scourge construct that was let loose against the Alliance and Horde forces during the battle for Anderhall. Though he was silenced in the wake of Anderhall, Darkmaster Gandling managed to recover enough of Rattle Gor to resurrect him. He now, ironically enough, teaches reanimation in Scholomance and stands as one of Gandling's strongest guardians. There are large piles of bones located around the room in a relative circle fashion, which will randomly erupt into large towers of blue flames. It should go without saying, especially at level 90, that you should avoid standing in the fire. Located on each bone pile that isn't ablaze should be a small interactable pile of bones, which gives you a buff for absorbing damage from one bone spike attack. Every member of your group should have this buff up at all times, as bone spike does a ridiculous amount of damage unhindered. Rattle Gor will cast this on random players periodically, though he doesn't seem to normally cast it on the same player twice, so you should have plenty of time to reapply the buff after being hit once. The fourth boss of Scholomance is Lilian Voss. From the time she was born, Lilian Voss was raised to become an unstoppable weapon for the Scarlet Crusade to use against the undead. Their plan worked, a little too well, and the Crusade ordered Lilian's death by the time she reached young adulthood. In the end, all the Scarlet Crusade managed to accomplish was to have Commander Voss order the murder of his own daughter. Sylvanas' Valkyr would later resurrect Voss, who would be encountered during the Forsaken starting area while leveling. Throughout the zone, Forsaken players attempt to help and recruit Lilian into the ranks of Sylvanas' army, but she refuses. Eventually, Lilian learns of her father's betrayal and seeks out destruction of all things she hates, being the Scarlet Crusade and the Scourge for making her the monster she is today. Her tirade of destruction leads her to Scholomance, where she queues off against the Dark Master himself in a battle of sheer willpower to the death, or I guess undeath in this case. This fight has 3 distinct phases to it, all of which can be pretty tricky if you don't know what to expect. The first phase is thankfully the simplest, and the only thing you have to watch out for is an ability called Dark Blaze, which is a purple flame that spawns at the location of a randomly selected player every half second until the next phase is activated. The player caught in the Dark Blaze should be sure to run around the outer edges of the room while the fire is spawning from them. The blaze will eventually dissipate with enough steps taken, though it's more than would be possible to get up close and personal to the boss. The healer should also be prepared to heal whoever is hit with Dark Blaze, as they will need plenty of it. The second phase activates when Lilian reaches 60% health, and there is a long animation that follows, which allows players to attack the boss with no mechanics to worry about. Now would be the time to pop all of your cooldowns, because if your group has enough damage output and can take down the boss's health before this animation finishes, you can actually end the boss fight then and there, without ever having to worry about the final phase. If the animation is allowed to finish, Lilian's body will fall to the floor and Lilian's soul will become the new target for the time being. The boss will fixate onto a random player and chase them around the room at walking speed. If she manages to catch up to the fixated player, Lilian will cast Blazing Soul, which damages the entire party for a decently large amount of damage. Needless to say, the fixated player should stay as far away from the boss as possible to avoid dying. The final phase activates when Lilian's soul reaches 1 health, where it will become untargetable, and Lilian's body will once again become the focus of the fight. Even if your group couldn't manage to finish the fight before phase 2, here's why you'll still want to pop all of your cooldowns during the animation after phase 1. Lilian's body retains all of the damage sustained before becoming invulnerable, so the closer you got to killing her then, the less time will be needed to be spent in phase 3. And trust me when I say you won't want to be in phase 3 any longer than you have to be. Lilian's body has all of her abilities from phase 1, and the way to finish the fight is to bring her down to 1 health, though that doesn't mean you're done dealing with her soul. Lilian's soul, though immune, will still walk after a fixated player and perform all of her abilities from phase 2, so fixated players will again have to avoid the soul. This final phase culminates into quite a bit of madness when allowed to be, so steel yourself for the insanity that'll ensue. The 5th and final boss of Scholomance is Dark Master Gandling. Much like his Lich Master Kel'Thuzad, Gandling was once a Dalaran mage who left the path of the arcane to search after the dark arts of necromancy. He soon devoted himself wholly to the Scourge and was appointed as the headmaster of Scholomance, the school for necromancy. Though many of his instructors have fallen throughout the years, he has reigned supreme over his institution, and it will take much more cunning and coordination to finish him off. In recent times, Gandling was the leader of the Scourge in the battle for Anderhall, and is still bitter about their loss, to say the least. He's sure not to be happy about any intrusions, especially those who helped foil his schemes in Anderhall. Gandling can cast a spell called Rise, which summons lots of zombies and decreases the damage he takes while the ads are up, meaning that these mobs should be taken out as quickly as possible. Players will be randomly teleported into one of 6 testing chambers, and forced to fight their way out in order to return to the main encounter. These tests aren't too difficult as long as you don't pull too many mobs at once, being as you won't have anyone else to help you during these trials. A quick note, Gandling doesn't seem to cast Harsh Lesson, the spell which banishes players to the testing chambers if there's only one player fighting him, which is probably why you don't see anything like I've just described happening in the footage here. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. So, as always, be sure to leave your comments in the comment section below if you have any ideas about anything else you might want to see me play. And the comment question still stands, try and guess the intro and outro songs to my videos. They're always the same, I never change them. Be sure to follow me on Instagram for the latest updates on when I'll be uploading YouTube videos, as well as when I'll be streaming on Twitch and other random gaming related posts. Be sure to check out my partner in crime, Sir John Mac's channel. He posts something every now and then, and it's usually pretty entertaining, whatever it is. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And that's all the time I've got for today, guys. So until next time, don't die.